All right, in order to get approved for renting an apartment or getting a mortgage, you've got to have income, but you've recently retired and you don't have that income. How do you get approved to rent or to buy a house? I've got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. This real topic, came from a friend of mine who was having a conversation with someone about how they've recently retired. I think it was on vacation. Yeah, that's right. She was on vacation and had a conversation with someone who had recently retired to this vacation spot. Really nice area. And the plan was, get this, because you're going to find yourself here. You can imagine this. You had planned to retire to this location, retire and move to this location, buy a house. But housing prices are crazy. It's a new location, and so the risk felt significant. So listen, we'll just rent until we can buy the right house at the right price that we know fits in our budget and our overall financial life. Makes a ton of sense. In fact, I would tell you, typically when you are relocating, you're probably going to want to rent for 6 months. You really are. Unless you know the area well, it's going to be hard to ensure that you buy the right house on the right side of the tracks in the right neighborhood with the right amenities and all that sort of stuff without being there. Just looking online, lots of areas. The homes look great, the areas look great until you're there. You can learn a little bit more about where you actually would want to be and feel comfortable being. So typically in a normal market, you're likely going to have this stage. And I know the big reason you don't want to is because you then need to move twice. You got to move into the apartment or the rental house and then move into your eventual home. I get that. However, home purchase is such a big decision, maybe something to consider. Even something to consider more so with the housing market that's done what it's done. But when you make this transition at retirement, you then, to the right landlord, to the right rental company, you've got to show, I've got an adequate income, I'm worth taking this risk on, because the landlord is obviously giving you access to the property, and if you're not trustworthy, you could damage and whatever, but you could also just leave and not pay rent and be a terrible tenant. And so they've got to go through some criteria, just some review to make sure that you're a financially trustworthy individual in order to rent to. But if you don't have income, how can you prove that? Same thing applies to a mortgage. However, when you're working with a lender, they're specifically going to tell you some of the things that they need, where landlords and rental companies, you might not have as much clarity from them as to what you need to show when you're transitioning from that steady paycheck into retirement. So the first thing that you're going to show typically, depending on your overall financial situation, is you're going to show your actual income, which is Social Security, maybe some pensions, and some withdrawals from your retirement accounts. If you are retired and have those things established, that should help. And assuming that you aren't overextending yourself, that should be enough income in the majority of instances, enough income to show you would be a trustworthy tenant, you would be a trustworthy borrower for that lender, showing your Social Security turned on and how much you're getting each month, pensions, if you've got those, and how much you're getting each month, and then the withdrawals from your retirement and how much you're getting there as well. If that's not sufficient, or sometimes in addition to that, or maybe you've retired and you've decided to delay Social Security, like we typically recommend depending on the situation, or maybe you don't have a pension and only one of you drawn Social Security, something like that. If you don't have as much established income, maybe you're just living off of cash and doing some tax planning, what do? Well, then you're going to show something called a proof of assets or proof of investments, where the landlord or the lender will grant you a loan or get you into that apartment, approve you for the apartment because of the amount of assets that you've got accumulated. Because that income, the withdrawal that you take from your investments, we know that could be sustainable, that could not be sustainable. So proof of funds, proof of investments, proof of assets, I've heard it called all sorts of things, basically where you're going to show them a couple of things, either a full summary net worth report, which we generate for our clients very easily, very quickly, just did it earlier this week, in fact, or you're going to show them statements from your various investment accounts. Fidelity statement for your IRA, your Roth IRA, your joint account, that sort of thing. And the landlord or the lender is going to use that to review your overall financial stability and strength to determine if you're a good risk and if you can cover that monthly rent or that monthly mortgage. And then lastly, sometimes in addition to that, they're going to want some financial professional to also sign off and say that you're not, making up these numbers. Basically, occasionally, and I get this request, it's probably not even once a year, maybe every other year, a statement of funds that is also a personal statement from me as a financial professional on behalf of a client saying, yes, I confirm that such and such individual has these accounts with these totals and is drawing this much money off of them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so some sort of additional statement, sometimes even a tax return. I'm thinking of this now. Sometimes they'll even ask for a tax return. If you don't have that stable monthly income, those are additional ways that you can prove that financially you would be a good tenant, you would be a good renter, you would be a good borrower for a mortgage. So, if this is you and you're looking at, along with retiring, a move and wanting to prove or thinking now, how can I prove that I'm a financially good risk to someone as I rent their place for a season or when I go and buy the house? What if I don't have the right income? There are still ways to navigate around it, showing the amount of assets, amount of income, but also the amount of assets that you have. Work with your certified financial planner, or if you are working with a lender to get a mortgage in place, they should have a well-defined process. But if it's just a landlord, work with your certified financial planner, have them get in touch with the landlord and say, all right, what proof do you need to see? What do you need to review to make sure that you feel comfortable with so-and-so as a tenant or renter? So work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with the K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.